Looks like we're going live. And hi, this is Damien from AtHope, and I am an axiological atheist, which can simply be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. Or understood another way is I'm an axiologist, and I approach the atheist question and other questions often through the axiist, or in a sense, a value theorist mindset. So on that note, I'm going to talk a little bit about the hammer of truth and also about beliefs, facts, evidence, and stuff like that. So to me, the hammer of truth is basically a methodological use of philosophy. And it's actually three major branches of philosophy: ontology, epistemology, and axiology. And the other part I wanted to address really is that, yes, you too have lots of beliefs. So, some think that they don't have beliefs. In fact, the belief that you don't have beliefs is itself a belief. Thus, I wish to help people increase their philosophic accuracy by understanding beliefs and how the terms like facts, truth, knowledge, certainty, as well as objective, and how every one of them are labels that we believe in or are markers of accuracy in one's belief and the actual state of affairs, such as reality. In addition, how they are all still connected in that they are epistemic properties of belief. Yes, facts are labels, just like truth, that we put on claims we think are proven somehow. In that assertion, we are believed to match, in a sense, the state of affairs. In other words, if you call something a fact, that's a fact is a label. If you call something truth, truth is a label. Okay? And when we are saying it, it is an assertion that we're believing to match the state of the affairs of the world. And if you're making these realistic assumptions that the world is real from science, and you're saying science is helping understand truth or understand this knowledge, then you're likely supporting the beliefs in scientific realism. There's scientific realism and there's scientific anti-realism. Realism is the belief, in a sense, scientific realism, that the things that science does is producing or helping to produce, some kind of a knowledge and some kind of a truth. And that generally this is promoted by the correspondence theory of truth, or something similar to it, or similar to, in a sense, rationalism and empiricism together, in some kind of a way. Or this is being promoted through, in a sense, that will be the kind of an external thing, and then an internal thing like the coherence theory of truth, or similar to just being rationalism, when we make logical hunches or whatever. So anyways, it is still, though, all these things are epistemic properties of belief. And this is true whether one's claim is of knowledge or of certainty, even if it's only to a level of certainty. So because we bring up certainty, I want to address that in a sense there's two kinds of certainty. Because it's always stated as somehow it's absolute or it's nothing or something. But that's not actually how, general things of certainty are. So, in a sense, there's psychological certainty, and then there's, in a valid way, like science, is epistemic certainty. So that's not the same thing. And we really need to address kind of what that is. So in a sense, when something, when you have a belief in a certain, like knowledge and an epistemic property of the belief, you want to know, is it valid and is it reliable? And because those kind of qualities that the belief has, or the claim has, is going to tell you that it's worthy of those things that we call facts or knowledge, and also when it has that kind of ability to be valid and reliable, it's also aiding in our ability to have certainty. So like I said, one kind of certainty is psychological certainty. In a sense, we have this a lot where we can be sure about something, and psychological certainty, in a sense, could be 100%, or what someone would call absolute. But the psychology of us is that in that sense, is that we're accepting it fully, which it sounds, like something we wouldn't want to always do, but this is something that happens sometimes regardless of our desires to. In other words, we could totally agree with something 100%, and even whether or not it's really true, our certainty level psychologically could be 100%. So it's not like when I think that sometimes religious people want to say, well, I have faith and I feel it 100%. They feel, so that's why they're certain. Well, okay, but that would be, and even if that was how you feel, that would be just psychological certainty, which happens all the time and really means very little to nothing. You could be psychologically certain about something and it be wrong. It doesn't mean that you have, in a sense, external evidence of that. It doesn't mean you don't, because you could be psychologically certain because of external evidence, in a sense. But the psychological certainty that we're talking about can happen regardless of evidence. So, in a sense, like when we say someone has a blind belief or the evidence lacking belief, they can still have psychological certainty because it doesn't require that you actually know it. It's just that you have accepted its properties. A belief is psychologically certain when the subject who has it is supremely convinced of what they believe it is true. Certainty in this sense is similar to incorrectability, which is the property of a belief has begun such that the subject is incapable of wanting to or able to give it up, in a sense. So it's not that someone can't have 100% psychological belief. It's just that it's similar to this incorrectability. That having this, in other words, one should have, I guess, even if you accepted that having 100% belief was important, you still wouldn't want to have 100% belief on everything, because in a sense in life, logically you would know that that's just not possible. Even if you could be for a few things, you certainly would need to be sparing. So I feel like in religion, you're like, how many things did they agree with? They're psychologically certain. All of it. Every single one of them, right? Really? You have 100% belief that every fact or every claim or every thing in the world in general? No, of course not. The people do not put, but when it comes to religion, they don't take this general principle that, most people that aren't kids would know. You can't just put 100% belief in everything you're presented. But somehow with religion, every 100% of whatever's presented in a certain religion someone wants to believe in, often they can believe every single thing with a supposedly the equal amount of belief. That's what's interesting. It's like you become a Christian, you 100% believe in every claim of the Bible. All right, become a Muslim, you're supposed to believe in every 100%, and why is that? Even if they wanted that and that could be attained, why would you want that? To me, what's interesting is people act like even like it's all or nothing. Like if somehow they say, oh well, there's a fact that proves, something in the Bible, that still wouldn't prove the Bible. Even if there's, in other words, like saying, oh, well, there was a king in Judah. Well, the Bible couldn't have been written, and all the magic claims are fake, but some of the historical things could be accurate. That still does not prove all the magical bullshit. Having 100% belief is something that we do only when we're erring. I'm not saying that every 100% belief would be an error. I'm saying that if we're thinking that we can believe groups of things and all kind of things without question and have this super high belief, that would be just ridiculous. There's so many things that we would need to question. So some certainty could be good, but absolute certainty of everything, that would be. I wouldn't even want that, because that we would have to in some way be able to know everything, and then even if we knew it, it couldn't change, because then we would have to, of course, be and then in a place of not knowing. So, but psychologically certain, I'm not saying is the same as incorrectability. So you could be psychologically certain and not an invalid thinker, but you should seriously be questioning, especially if you're spreading that around without testing stuff. You should not have every belief that you have should not be 100% certain. If you have some beliefs that may be okay, we still should check them, and you certainly should always not have the incorrectability mentality. In other words, I should always be open to be corrected. So as long as that, say if you say you want to have a whole bunch of 100% certain beliefs, okay, make sure you're not at the place that you're not able to be non-corrected. So, for example, there's also another kind of certainty, and that is epistemic certainty. And a belief is epistemically certain when it has the highest possible epistemic, or knowledge in a sense, standard. So epistemic certainty is often accompanied by a psychological certainty. In other words, once epistemically I know something is valid, it has the right properties to enrich, its knowledge standard, like the highest standard, like science, it's gone through tons of tests, it would almost be a miracle if it were to be found false. Not saying that we still wouldn't be able to amend the thinking, but that it's been demonstrated in such a way that one can basically say that they know, and that they know with a high level of certainty, epistemic certainty. And that epistemic certainty could, and I would think rationally should, kind of raise your psychological certainty as well. But understand, though, psychological certainty is not needed. In other words, someone could have an epistemic justification, an epistemic certainty like science, but still not be psychologically certain for whatever reason, whether it be rational or not. Okay, so it is possible that a subject may have a belief that enjoys the highest possible, in a sense, epistemic attitude, and yet they be unaware that it actually is doing that. In other words, like science could actually have a piece of truth, but not totally know for sure if it's the only truth or they're interpreting it correctly. So they could be unaware or unsure and psychologically uncertain and actually have the epistemic proof, but not yet totally know that it's the epistemic proof, and thus they're not, in a sense, they're justified in not being so certain. So I am definitely psychologically certain that there is no God. I am certain of this 100%. I am totally, this is not just blind disbelief in a sense, because of epistemic certainty of things like scientific realism and methodological naturalism, demonstrating that in a sense no supernatural magic of any kind exists, never has, and it isn't usable in a sense to understand science. So that to me brings it back to, I want to get back to the belief thing too. And but I wanted to explain that how I test beliefs, in a sense. One of the main things I use is the hammer of truth. And the hammer of truth, like I said before, is 3 types of methodological use of philosophy. 3 branches, in a sense, of philosophy. So ontology, epistemology, and axiology. And I'm going to go ahead and explain those. So ontology basically means like being, which is, and then has logos, meaning discourse, rational, study, calculation, reason. So it's basically the reasoning about what is a being, in a sense. And ontology is a philosophic study of the nature of being, becoming, existence, or reality, as well as the basic categories of being and their relations. Epistemology is basically means knowledge, understanding, and then the same thing, the logos is meaning discourse, study, calculation, reason. Is the theory of knowledge. So epistemology, in a sense, is kind of like the theory of knowledge, or theories about knowledge, I should say, probably, especially in regards to its methods, validity, its scope. Epistemology is the investigation of what distinguishes justified belief from opinion. And then axiology, meaning value or worth. And then logos, meaning discourse, study, calculation, or reason. It is the philosophic study of value, as well as ethics and aesthetics. Formal axiology is a specific branch of science of axiology, a social science. Axiology also studies of goodness, of worth, of value. It studies those properties of things. In the widest sense of those terms, its significance lies in the unification that it has provided with the study of a variety of questions, both economic, moral, aesthetic, even logical, that have often been considered in isolation. So the hammer of truth is the use of ontology, epistemology, and axiology questions to remove errors and add accuracy. It is also my folk name for what is basically scientific philosophy. Philosophy, in a sense, is scientific because they're asking the questions that science has to, in a sense, address, and in a sense, these are the things that they're trying to understand, or it's the way of understanding. So I'm going to say it too. So think about the hammer of truth, ontology, epistemology, axiology. And like I'm going to say, like if it was in a mock debate court, using hammer of truth. So ontology is, in a sense, reality, questions, or assertions. These are what the witness, in a sense, gives evidence about the claim. Or you demand of the witness, either you're the witness giving the evidence, or you're the one that is expected to give, you're expecting others to give they're a witness, they need to give evidence for the claim. So in a sense, you're asking ontology, you're asking the thingness of a thing, its beingness, its qualities, its attributes, but in a sense, but about what it is. So it's simply, like if someone says, I believe in God. So an ontology question, well, what do you mean by God? Well, God is supernatural. Okay, I know natural. What do you mean? Ontology question. What do you mean when you say supernatural? Okay, well, supernatural is something beyond natural, and then so I would say, okay, beyond natural is in not in reality. and I want to ask it. I'm still trying to ask the ontology question. So when you say supernatural, what properties are you referring to? Because in a sense, and you don't want generalizations because you're trying to find out the thingness of the thing. And this is, in a sense, like I said, the person should feel like they're being grilled like on a witness thing, because in a sense they are supposed to provide the burden of proof for their claim. And the ontology is addressing the desire for understanding what the claim is, what the thing they're talking about. Then epistemology is truth, questions, assertions. In a sense, like a lawyer, searching for warrant, justification for the claim. So they say, well, I believe in the supernatural, and supernatural is the same as natural. It's just something you can't see is happening. So then I can ask the epistemology truth question, in a sense, searching for the justification of the claim. How do you know that? You're admitting that all we see is the natural, but there's something else you're claiming. How do you know that? How do you know there's something else? And that we don't just see that, in a sense, natural is all there is. So then axiology. So axiology is the goodness for, the worth for, the value of, whatever, the questions or assertions. It's a judge, or it could be a jury, assessing the value. You're judging, doing value judging, in a sense, because of your qualities that are either in the claim, or you're finding ones that are lacking in the claim. So to say, oh, well, I have this evidence that there's something beyond natural. So we ask them for how they know that, epistemology. Now they have offered something. So now we're going to address it with the axiology. They say, well, I know it because I saw a spider fall off a tree and then float in the air. And so I know that a magical force helped the spider. So that claim has been given. So now for the axiology, I'm assessing, is this good assertion? Is this a good, quality evidence? Is this a valuable assertion? Is it matching, what has to be reason of to come to the belief in magic? Is that enough? Is that enough to not just that a given animal maybe could float or something, maybe it has magical powers, but that all of reality is supernatural, or that supernatural has been proved universally because of one incident, of one little thing? Does that sound like enough richness to justify making the claim? See, axiology would assess that, the limits of what they're saying, the quality of what they're saying, the worth of what they're saying, its value. Of course, there wouldn't be enough value in the claim that because of spider, could have been the wind. Could have been that they're not seeing spiders on a web, so it's not even floating. It's actually just walking on a web. Or it may be floating in the sense it's hanging from one web and then floating. But it still could be that they don't see the web, and so they just assume the spider is in the air, and magically it's just floating. Because at first it was falling, and then it was just floating. So, but that's also, once we understand that all those things could have easily rational, naturalistic, and non-supernatural qualities to the claim, that it shows that axiologically there's no good reason. There's not enough value in the assertion. So in a sense, always try to always go in the order of, if you can, ontology first. What are you talking about? Then the epistemology. How do you know that? And then the axiology. And why is what they just said even valuable? Why is the claim valuable? Why is the evidence valuable? Why is their logic valuable or assertion? Is it usable? So, ontology is understanding the thingness of things, like that what is or can be real, such as not God, because God is a supernatural claim, thus a non-reality claim. So ontology asks, what is your claim? Or what aspects must there be for your claim to be true, in a sense? What makes your claim different than similar claims? Epistemology, understanding what you know or can know, as in, do you have the thing that is in reality to know anything about the term, and such as someone would call God? So do you have anything in reality that emulates this so-called supernatural expression that you were trying to call God? In a sense, it's also addressing with epistemology, do you have a way of knowing? Is there anything, in a sense, non-natural that they're claiming? Something beyond the universe is, and you are really making a claim of, in a sense, before reality, or at least our universe's reality, or in a sense, our ability in this, right, currently to test reality. And no way stating something about what's really there. You want to ask questions such as, how do you know your claim? How reliable or how valid must the aspects for your claim be for it to be true? How does the source of your claim make it different from other similar claims? Axiology, understanding what is good or valuable, as well as it could be understood of what is harmful or evil or unvaluable or not good. Like how stories that the theistic people love to do with their theistic gods are often racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, intersex-phobic, whatever. They seem to be directly then against humanity, and thus are themselves axiologically evil or harmful, or certainly not good for humanity. Or they are anti-humanity. They are unvaluable axiologically, as in the God concept you have itself is in a sense harmful or evil. And it is demonstrably harmful in the fact that some people choose it over family, over life, over humanity. Axiological questions could be such as, why are your objects of proposed value subject to psychological states of value or objective physical external states of value, and how does it relate to your claim? Why do your proposed descriptive words fit the qualities for valuation, such as powerful, knowing, present, such as the Christian's God of omnipresent, all-powerful, omnipotent, all-knowing, and omnipotent? All these assertions are just empty claims that they add to what the supposed thingness of a God is. In other words, when they say God, the ontology that they offer is not a thingness ontology. They offer all its extra stuff. In other words, they'll say a God is powerful, but that wouldn't, if you were to, we're all powerful, but that still doesn't help you understand what is being. So a mysterious thing, instead of the word God, mysterious thing is powerful, all powerful. A mysterious thing is knowing, all knowing. A mysterious thing is present, omnipresent, always present. Yeah, you still wouldn't know what the thing is. The mysterious thing. So, why is your value for, your worth for, or your goodness for your claim different than other or similar claims? Take, for instance, how religious supporters try to evaluate the tactic of saying there are peaceful religions, or religion can be peaceful, as supposedly a sidestepping that religions can be harmful, or religion in general is harmful and has been harmful to humanity. Has it been this all-knowing, all-loving thing that's produced nothing but goodness? Or has it produced a large amount of human suffering? I may respond, though, to claims, what do you mean by religion? And what do you mean by painful or good, or evil or bad? Asking to find the truth, or as usual, expose the lack of truth or a good ontology. Then I may respond, how do you know that? What is your source or sources, and how reliable are they? How valid are they? Asking to find the truth, or as usual, expose the lack of a good epistemology. Then I may respond and ask things like, what value do you think what you are saying has? And to what level of proof do you feel truth needs? As well as how do you ensure accuracy? Asking to find the truth, or as usual, exposing a lack of a good axiology. So, let's look at the God claim itself with the hammer of truth. To me, God is a presuppositional error. It assumes an unsupported universality of ontology assumptions about a thing. First, truly, what is a God, and how can you claim to know anything about it? Remember, guessing blindly is not evidence. Neither is wild, unfounded assertions, whether or not they are written down. If they are reality devoid, then the documents, such as holy books, they're written in, are not valid or devoid of justifications in the world. In other words, science makes a claim that the properties of a tree, there's not 10 different types of books written about, in a sense, that different interpretations of that same thing. When the science understands how a tree works, that science, once it's been, in a sense, validated and tested in larger community, when they know the truth properties of the thing, like how does, in a sense, bark on a tree work, there's not going to be different ways that you can understand it, in the sense that it would devoid the other one being true. And so, in a sense, you have the holy book, and it's making claims about reality that don't match. There is no thing, even if somehow you think that it is true, there's nothing that matches the justification for some of the claims that are just outlandish. So it really goes back to that's, in a sense, those kind of reality devoid documents. So atheists don't have to, in a sense, prove that gods don't exist. In a sense, we simply can reject that others that are theists making positive assertions or positive assumptions that there's a something God, whatever that claim is real. And in a sense, we are holding, or I try to hold people accountable to the quality and richness of that which they claim. If you say you know what a God is, demonstrate a God, explain it, give me the things, and give me its proof. That has never happened. And it won't. Nor has it the possibility to happen in the future, because there is no such thing to give rise to these qualities, unless we sometime in the future find magic to be part of reality in a demonstrable way, in a testable, reproducible way. So, in a sense, atheists do not have to prove a God exists, as also gods have never been proven to exist, in the sense that not only is it that any test that's tried to been done to find supernatural anything has only demonstrated that on every level and in every way there is a naturalistic explanation. And this belief before of this wide property that somehow looking at nature we can't understand, then obviously God's involved or spirits involved or magic is involved, is an error of what's really occurring. So in that sense, what I mean by God's never been proven to exist, that every claim that has been made that references the God is positioning it on something that has never been proven to exist. So in other words, before you expect me rationally to accept super magic, I want you to demonstrate even simple magic. And since you cannot even prove the most basic, simple, meaningless elements of magic, to me, then the God concept, the super magic claim, is never been proven, and thus it in no way exists. Nor is there any good reason for us to think that they could exist, because of the properties validating reality do not demonstrate magic, and every magic claim would be to somehow supersede or violate reality. So we have no good reason. And this, in a sense, logical understanding would be known as sense pragmatics. A presupposition, such as God, would be an error, because it's to presuppose it comes before. How do you know that? There's no reason to think that all this here would have that. And the implication for this assumption about the world, or the background belief relating to an utterance, its truth has been taken for granted in discourse, like the God concept. It's taken as somehow it's a given. It's a given assumption. It's a given belief, and there isn't any. And speaking that specifically, in other words, someone will say, I don't believe in God. What do you even mean by that? Which God? In what at what time? And in what way? And which religion? And which expression of that religion? Let's say Christians certainly don't have a unifying message on who the God is, with Catholics and Protestants, just as to name up two branches, I'm saying that, and obviously they're not seeing the God as exactly the same. having the exact, what I mean by that too is that it doesn't have the same desires, right? Even if they say they believe in the same thing, which of course they never explain what the ontology, the thingness of the God is, and exactly how they know that, and then what valuable their claim of evidence is, the ontology, epistemology, axiology. But to me, they are saying that this thing exists, but if you simply look at the people that believe in the Bible, let's say, or the Quran, they're not uniformly agreeing. So someone's wrong. Even if they believe that there's interpretation, then how do they know their interpretation is the right one? These things are not quality. They're not standardized. In a sense, they're not methodological. They're just loose emotional rantings. That's all the God is. And it's just a presuppositional error. It's thinking that comes forth. It's just an error. And so just think of things like a coherent definition of God, in a sense. Because I am an agnostic atheist with an I instead of an agnostic with an A. And not only do I not believe in the term gods, I reject that even the term God has any real meaning or true reality-connected definition is even available. To me, there is no coherent definition of God. And even if they think some articulation proves it has some kind of a real meaning, this proves little than nothing to me than saying that someone believes in a triangle, square, circle, being, in a sense, all separate, but yet one full thing at the same time. Something has to be an error there. It cannot be. And so to me, terms like that and like God, in a sense, we can understand that these things don't have the reason to inspire, someone to have a belief, because what they're claiming has no beingness or thingness. There just has mindless, unconnected attributes or qualities they say this mystery thing has. And that's a real important thing, because in a sense, when they say they think it is true, they are making a value or judgment or an axiological judgment. A fact is a statement that is consistent with reality or can be proven with evidence that is valid and reliable. The word fact derives from Latin, and its first use meaning was done in a sense to a thing done or performed, meaning in a sense is now a common usage that something in reality has occurred, is the case. And that dates to the middle 6th century of using fact to mean that something is a reality that occurred or something is the case. Fact is sometimes used synonymous with truth. These two things are labels that are, in a sense, distinct from opinions or falsehoods or just matters of taste that someone might have. So I just wanted to address those things really quick, and I appreciate you spending the time and listening, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye.